Hello, everybody. It's an honor and privilege today to have a special guest in the studio with us, and I get to have my co-host, Mr. Jim Noteware, with me. Our guest came in from Taipei, from Republic of China, Taiwan, Dr. Alexander C. Huang. He is the Director of the Department of International Affairs and representative to the United States. Welcome, Dr. Huang.
It's my honor to be on the program.
It's Jim.
It is wonderful and welcome to Houston, and we hope this is the beginning of many other communications.
I would love to come back, of course.
You brought the rain here. That's a good thing. We have been having drought conditions.
Oh, yeah.
When you got in, it's been raining 2 days in a row.
Well, yes. It rains a lot in Taiwan, I'm told.
Yes. Yeah.
Very similar weather, very humid, very hot, long summers. But I like that he's ingrained already with Texas barbecue, with our bandana,
Yes.
red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
So, Professor Huang, you are currently a full-time professor
Yes.
at Danjiang University,
Yeah.
but you've lived here in the United States for many years. You're very familiar with you're familiar with both cultures and both ways of life.
Yes, indeed.
So the question here says KMT. For most of us that are not familiar with Sino-U.S. relations, what is KMT? We know it's the opposition party in the Republic of China, Taiwan. But what is KMT? As of in 2022, what is KMT?
KMT in 2022, of course, is the largest opposition party in Taiwan. KMT is an old party that created in Honolulu 128 years ago. And tremendously affected by American values. So we consider ourselves a relatively conservative party, but we are also a very stable, consistent party. We rarely change our party platform. We hold the traditional values dearly to our hearts. And for a long time, at least since the very establishment of the Republic of China, we were the ruling party for a long, long time. And we fought with the United States together in World War II. On my shirt is the Flying Tigers. That's the evidence of our alliance. And the United States continued to recognize the Republic of China on Taiwan until 1979. And we are the party that changed and transformed Taiwan from a martial law dominated polity to a full-fledged democracy, which allows free election, free press. Even though we are now in opposition, but we are pretty sure that every 4 years, the people can make a different choice. And today I come to the United States as my party's representative to inform our American friends that it is about time to change, that why we need a better partner who is very stable and very consistent and can protect the common values and interests between Washington and Taiwan.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that and tell the American people what is the most important thing to recognize about Taiwan and Taiwan's future?
It is rather crucial, I would say, that in our next election, 2024, because we are now encountering several very daunting challenges. Number one is the rapid expansion of its economic and military influence in the Asia-Pacific region by the People's Republic of China in Beijing. And the United States, for a long, long time, ever since the end of the Cold War in the last century, the United States, for the first time, got a very different number two, right behind the United States. We had two challengers before. One was Japan, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Japan was one-dimensional superpower because that's only economy and trade. But Japan was politically and in terms of security, rely on the United States heavily. So the United States had never been afraid of Japan. Another number two was the Soviet Union. But the Soviet Union was also a one-dimensional superpower because that only applies to military strength. So the United States won the Cold War after 40 years. But this time, we got a systemic challenger. China is the number two economy in the world and number one trading nation. China is rapidly expanding their military capability, projecting their power into the Pacific. In China, the most important thing is that China is now under a one-party communist dictatorship. So our value collide. So China, the People's Republic of China under the communist rule would threaten not only in geographic and strategic terms, but also threatening the liberal democratic order that we cherish so much. And Taiwan, especially KMT, as I said, we are a very stable party. We had a long experience in power, and we have the biggest population of elites who had government experience. We believe that we are a better choice as a partner to the United States to join together to maintain the peace and stability in the region. Taiwan is at the center of the first island chain from Japan to Philippines to Indonesia. And so the Chinese expansion would first hit Taiwan.
Right.
So we call ourselves the gatekeeper for liberal democratic values and for the strategic importance of the United States. And we believe that another important issue is that we share this common value, and we believe that we are the party that America knows a lot. We got many friends here. So we need a better trust, especially in the next few years. I think many our American friends do not know that that the current Communist China leader Xi Jinping is seeking for his third term, and his third term will be from this year to 2027.
And he had to change the Chinese constitution in order to do that.
Right.
Sounds very much like Russia, doesn't it?
Yeah, he changed the Chinese constitution and made himself a lifetime leader on the mainland. And that is a direct contrast to our value. And number two is that he has a dream to expand the Chinese influence and directly challenge the American interests in the region, at least. So we believe that in the next few years, it will be very challenging. And many of American voters know that our Indo-Pacific Command is now just getting into a new phase. And it is called the Pacific Deterrence Initiative. It started fiscal year 2022. The former and the current commanding admiral of our Indo-Pacific Command in Hawaii said that the command needs 6 consecutive years of funding to basically transform the military operational doctrine. And so we need time, and this is a critical time. And we believe that my party will be a better partner to the United States to maintain that peace and stability, to serve the interests on both sides.
Jim, let me add to it quickly. When Professor keeps talking about a better partner, the KMT has been the partner for the United States until the last 8 years. It's very easy to fall into this, with the current ruling party of the Republic of China, Taiwan, has spun this narrative that they are better for democracy, which is absolutely not true. They have painted KMT as a party of elites When we use the word elite, it means these are professionals that are expertise in their field, whether in finance or commerce or national defense. Taiwan is also one of the biggest purchases of national defense from us.
Yes.
Right? It's a very important strategic and trading partner. And the soft power of the Republic of China, Taiwan is what people don't talk about. It's not just the raw numbers. We have millions of immigrants in China, in Shanghai and Beijing. And if you go to Southern California or Flushing, New York, or here in Houston, who do you know? Where are we all from? Right? Everyone you know that is somebody that's done well here mostly came from Taiwan to escape communism.
Right.
KMT is the party that fought communism. It's been spun by another way that KMT is, what is it, that we want war and not peace, not to be a second Ukraine. So I don't quite understand where the narrative comes from. But I get very worked up about this because to me, what Professor Wang is saying is that KMT is imperative to the peace and stability of Greater Asia.
You mentioned, Dr. Wang, the Taiwanese elections in 2024. We too have elections here in the United States in 2024, very important ones. How can the United States be most helpful to Taiwan generally and to the KMT particularly?
I think, with all respect to any democratic process in a polity, I would say what we want from the United States is not the United States support of my party, but we want the United States to play it fair.
Okay.
And the United States will give a balanced environment for us to compete. Of course, if we want to win the next presidential election, we need to work hard, but we want to have a fair game. We have witnessed that the current ruling party, DPP, has shut down media and punish criticism and label every criticism to the government as a person who support communist China, and so putting label on people and or distort any advice to the government as a traitor to the country, that had been made our society very kind of self-censorship, that people do not want to get into trouble, and so making the Taiwan's democracy very unhealthy. But as we all know, a liberal democracy, and what it does that mean? But right now in Taiwan, it is a liberal democracy in many accounts. But we were shut down. We were barred from talking about it, and even they told the United States Congress and the United States government that any criticism of their policy would be in favor of Beijing, and making people very painful when we wanted to make our democracy better.
So let me be clear on this, Jim. The manipulation of the media in Taiwan, this is no longer democracy. A democracy that started by the KMT has been squandered by the current ruling party. We keep talking about China. With or without China, this 100-year-old country that's been an ally of the United States is going to go away, because what the DPP wants is not the continuation of the Republic of China, Taiwan. That's not it. And the graphic corruption is out and open. You cannot have democracy when media, TV stations being shut down, when opposition is being shut. It's the McCarthyism, right? Paint you red. We went through this here. Paint you red, and then you're the enemy. Secondly, these are public records of how much the current administration spends on lobbying. This is legal here in the United States. But what about the lobbying that's done under the table? What about the funds being directed? Yes. What about the funds being directed? Or what about the ones that their own ruling party came out? I mean, they have their own issues. We know what's going on. Why is the United States not condemning this kind of graft? This is you cannot keep using democracy when you're not doing the actual democracy that's been given, that's been fought for by the KMT. Now, by the way, the ruling party has only been in power for 8 years. And if you look at every metric, Taiwan has gone back into a third world country, essentially. It is a shame, Jim. So for a professor to sit here and talk about supporting Taiwan, what is the difference between KMT and DPP? Why should we choose KMT instead of DPP?
For American interests, of course, in this period of great power competition, and it's going to be a long competition, of course, it is very natural for people that support American interests to see a very strong Taiwan that is anti-communist. But my message to our friends here is that in the next 5 to 10 years, not only we need a strong Taiwan, but we need a stable Taiwan who can manage the relationship or manage the peace across the Taiwan Strait. And do not give Beijing any excuse to use force, which would not only damage the life of Taiwan, but also disrupt the freedom of navigation of Asia.
Let me back this up. This is very important. When the KMT was in power before this last 8 years, when President Mao was in power, in 8 years, China did not send a single warplane into neutral territory. There was no military exercise. Trade was at all-time high. Everybody was making money and doing well, right? In the last 8 years, China has sent 900 planes over. Literally, the alert that. So for an administration like the current party, when they're corrupt and they're useless. They cannot execute a plan. It's all infighting, right? So how do you misdirect the accountability? You blame China. KMT doesn't blame anyone. KMT takes responsibility. When KMT was in power, every single head of government would take accountability and resign if there was issues. This current party, no one ever resigns, no matter what they do. They are I call them gangsters. They're like the mafia. Think about how would it be good for the United States when when mafia is running a strategic partner. Jim, you could laugh. I'm not kidding with you.
I'm only laughing because of the parallels with the United States right now.
I can't even tell you what kind of stuff they're doing when the special security team is smuggling cigarettes on the president's plane, and everyone just shove it under the rug like that didn't happen. So it's a shame because Professor Huang here and his forefathers and all our forefathers fought for this freedom and this democracy. It's being squandered. Not only being squandered, but this administration is using it to turn it around and say that KMT is a party of elite. Not true. The KMT is not adapt. KMT, when in power, they never controlled the media. They never paid for these web terrorists to change the narrative or to literally create stories and scandals that doesn't exist. Too many times during the election that a very good candidate, a clean candidate, is being essentially blackmailed, right? So what do we do now? How can we help KMT as Americans that want peace in the Straits because it's beneficial to us? We want stability in the Straits. We don't want to give them.
We want the time that you have said.
Yes, the
so
timeline.
Important.
Yes, we don't want to give China. Look, let's be real. China doesn't really want to have a war. For DPP, it is beneficial to create an illusion of a war, to create fear and hate, to use racial divide. What they're doing is doing racial cleansing. What DPP is saying is that our heritage didn't matter. His heritage didn't matter. They all came from the same place. You could be against communists, you could be against China. It doesn't mean you could erase the history of a nation. So could you tell me, for the benefit of the United States, for us, what can we do to make sure there's peace in Taiwan by getting KMT back in power? How is that going to be possible?
I think, of course, with all the respect of a democratic process, we appreciate foreign assistance. I think the greatest help, as I said, is to provide a fair environment and letting Taiwan people know that a lie that need to be clarified, the lie that I want to share with you. Because when we had public referendum We talk about public policy, whether to raise fund for one project or we want to continue to have a nuclear power plant. But the campaign running by DPP always said that if you support China, then you vote for KMT. If you support the United States, then you vote for me. And every time, no matter what public policy is, they always campaign and using their overwhelming control of the media and internet, to make young generation or the general public believe that this is a matter of life and death. So if you vote for KMT, then you will not have American support. So my single message to my friends, my dear friends in the United States, is that if you tell openly to my people that if KMT wins, that the United States will continue to be the ally to the Republic of China on Taiwan. The United States will continue to support and carry out its commitment to the security of Taiwan. The United States will continue to work with Taiwan to maintain the peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Then Taiwan people will not be manipulated by campaign skills. Give us a fair playground, and we will work hard to win our people's support.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think there's another dimension to this too. In your first answer to our question, you talked about economics, economic prosperity. The brilliance of Taiwan, in addition to democracy, has been this dramatic rise in prosperity, generation of foreign currency.
Under KMT rule.
Under KMT, that's what I mean.
Under KMT rule.
50s, 60s, 70s. Taiwan went from almost nothing to one of the wealthiest countries in the entire world, right? And what KMT means to me is a restoration in the continued growth of a market-based economy and free trade with the rest of the world. And coming back to the interest of the United States, that's clearly in the interest not only of the United States, but all of the other countries neighboring in Asia as well.
When we were in power, we were criticized by the current DPP government, saying that we were too much rely on trade with China. But the ratio was 39.6 when we were voted out. And in the past 6 years, our dependency on the trade with mainland China raised to 43+%. So in reality, if you look at the trade numbers, they are doing what we are doing, but they label us as collaborating with the communists.
Sounds familiar?
Yeah, it sounds
Some type of media here, right?
You heard that before.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So we can call it the politicization that became America. Well, people say that Taiwan is the leading cause of this media manipulation. So 美国政治变成台湾化. Right? They say it that way. But I want to be clear before I know you're so busy, we got to go, but I want to be clear. It's in the United States' best interest to have a two-party system. In any democracy, there needs to be an opposition party. You may not agree with KMT. You might be manipulated or brainwashed. But you cannot have a one-party system where they are the Gestapo of Taiwan. Yes, it's easy to talk about war. It's easy. But when war comes, there will be no Republic of China left. There will be no peace, and everyone will suffer. And for us, for our country, for our economy, we don't need to have this kind of problems like what's going on in Ukraine. KMT has been the party that's been close to DC. Don't let DPP spin it in a way, because it is not true. For the United States, no matter who's in Taiwan, we want the DPP is labeled by the State Department as problem. They cause problems. When their president comes here, they literally have to admonish her for doing things that are outside of the groundwork. I mean, it's like children. They're children. They're young, they're brave, and they break the rules. But in international politics, in the safety of 25 million people, You cannot play these games. The DPP are playing with fire, thinking that they can get away with it. They're not. But I appreciate you, Professor Huang, for coming in. Jim, thank you so much, because you know, I mean, it holds dearly to us what happens in Republic of China, Taiwan.
Our big challenge together is to get the message of, of Taiwan generally and KMT particularly.
And if possible, I hope I could be invited back to your program.
Right now, you have that invitation.
Thank you.
After we've won back the presidency,
Yes.
okay, after you win the Taipei mayor election, and for all of our audiences whose parents are from Taiwan, talk to your people. Let them know the truth, because it's not hard to find it. These are real facts that what the current party is doing. Erasing history, racial dissemination, they're literally just erasing. Okay? So we thank you once again. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you.
We'll see you again very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.